Bienvenidos and welcome to Estepona. Today I'm going to be talking about the history of Costa tourism development and explaining just how events conspire to put Estepona right at the top of the list for those of you who are looking for a place in the sun and who are in the know. The key word: sustainability. Okay, we've got various issues presently combining that are set to make the next 20 years absolutely nothing like the last 20. There's a long list of issues, but the one that's most pertinent to Estepona is energy depletion, or to be more specific, petrochemical depletion. For the last 100 years and more, we've had what seemed to be an endless supply of that very low cost and abundant, highly energetic liquid, light sweet crude oil. But that story is now over. The worldwide extraction of light sweet crude, or as it's commonly known, conventional oil, peaked a few years ago and is now rapidly declining. This is a graph of oil extraction of every oil well in the world. Initially, the rate of oil extraction increases to this point here, which is where the peak of extraction occurs, known as peak oil. Thereafter, the well begins to deplete. So, conventional oil no longer supplies the demand, and the gap is getting ever wider. However, advances in drilling technology and the ever-increasing price of oil has made the likes of tar sands and shale oil, which are these so-called unconventional oils, now viable to actually extract. In the halcyon days of conventional oil extraction, the investment of 1 barrel's worth of energy produced around 100 barrels. Now it's around 15 to 1. But note this, tar sands is between 5 and 6 to 1 and shale is between 2 and 4 to 1. The unstable and ever more expensive supply of oil is already having a profound effect on the world economy. But most people don't yet realise the effect it's having on food. Industrial agriculture uses fully 12 calories of petrochemical derivatives in the production of each single calorie of food. So the days of oil-based food are clearly numbered, which is no bad thing, given the increasing evidence that the stuff's actually poisoning us. This Guardian article is a must-read. Now for a quick review of Estepona's development as a resort. For the first 30 years or so of the mega developments along the costa, Estepona was more or less on the back burner. As it turns out, that was no bad thing, as we're about to reveal. Estepona's fundamental drawback in the early days was its location. Being a relatively long and decidedly risky journey from Malaga on the famous Road of Death, the N340 Coast Road, which used to be absolutely nothing like this. There was access from the west in the early days from Gibraltar Airport. However, in 1969, Franco chose to close Gibraltar's borders, which included the airport, so there was no aviation facility from there right up until about the end of the 1980s. So Estepona stayed on the back burner right up until the end of the 90s. And the reason it finally became popular was simply because all the towns in between Estepona and Malaga were running out of decent land to develop. Estepona certainly has some good land. In fact, Estepona is a very big municipality. There are 21 kilometres of coastline and a full 137 square kilometres of land. Hey, look at this. What a fantastic place to live. So the developers moved in here en masse at the turn of the century, moving in on their favourite land, which was either in the town or near the town, or as close to the beach as possible. And indeed the town has expanded quite a bit, mainly on the west side. And I must say, a lovely job they did too. Low density, low rise, and believe it or not, they got the traffic right. traffic flows around Estepona are like a dream. Oh, and notice the huge trees everywhere. More on that later. So although Estepona did become the new Golden Mile for a while, the building boom was very short-lived, coming to an abrupt end with the financial crisis of 2008. So in fact only a very small amount of Estepona land has actually been concreted over, with almost all of the traditional agricultural land still intact. Much of Estepona's land is in fact a huge floodplain, fed by the 12 rivers that flow through the municipality during the winter time. And by good fortune, the combination of materials that get washed down in the floods just happens to be the ideal mix for plant nutrition, root support and optimum water retention. Hence the great agriculture here. And it's all happening already. We're just about to start a local farmers market, weekly market, and we've already got a home delivery service of local produce, which is working really well. And me, well, I live on a finca with 3,000 square metres of land, like most fincas have round here, and I grow our family food, well, most of it, and I use permaculture. Why? Because it is so easy. I mentioned the town trees earlier. They produce some 10,000 cubic metres of trimmings each year, which when shredded and treated with a bit of tender loving care, becomes this in about 18 weeks. And if climate change leaves us without enough water for our traditional agriculture, no problem, because we have the very good fortune that the #1 place in the whole of Europe for aquaponics is here on the Costa del Sol. Here's my prototype system. Aquaponics grows fruit and veg hydroponically together with fish in a symbiotic relationship. The plant water requirement with aquaponics is less than 5% of that of plants in the ground, and you get to eat both the plants and the fish. Oh yes, and of course we do have our own fishing fleet. So for me, Estepona is certainly a better place to live than any other place I know, and I've been around. I feel reassured in the knowledge that Estepona has the almost unique capacity down here to approach self-sufficiency in chemical-free fruit and veg, and I absolutely delight in the fact that I'm able to grow organically most of the family's food requirement right here on the finca. And yes, you can become part of this. Okay, so there you are, Estepona. Maybe it's for you. If you do fancy coming down taking a look, let me know when you're down and I'll invite you to a cup of coffee over at Toloni's. And if you need somewhere to stay, I'll put you in touch with my friends and neighbours, these dudes here, David and Martin, who do rentals. So, without further ado, I will say hasta pronto, quizás.